The fact that he didn't know about it is impossible for me to believe. They're an important ally, but when it comes to the Crown Prince, he's irrational, he's unhinged, and I think he's done a lot of damage to the relationship between the United States and Saudi Arabia, and I have no intention of working with him ever again.
That's Republican South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, recently a Trump apologist, condemning Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman over the killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Now, before the break, you heard President Trump once again accept the Saudis' versions of events, that despite the CIA saying it has concluded that the Crown Prince ordered the killing, they base that information on an assessment given the intercepted communiques. Also, the audio tape of the murder, which has come to light. But President Trump saying he won't even listen to the tape. Here again, the commander-in-chief.
We have the tape. I don't want to hear the tape. No reason for me to hear the tape.
Why don't you want to hear it, sir?
Because it's a suffering tape. It's a terrible tape. I've been fully briefed on it. There's no reason for me to hear it. In fact, I said to the people, should I? They said, you really shouldn't. There's no reason. I know everything that went on in the tape without having to.
And what happened?
It was very violent, very vicious, and terrible.
Well, joining me now for more on this, Washington Post national security reporter Shane Harris. Shane, I've heard people in the intelligence community say it's beyond the pale that somebody in Intel would tell the president not to listen to an audio tape. I know that's almost a tangential piece into the bigger picture here, but does that comport with what you heard? Somebody would tell the president, don't listen to an audio tape?
Well, I think if the president were to say, look, it sounds, do I really need to hear this? They might say, well, Mr. President, it's very graphic, but, we want you to be fully apprised of the information. I think the bigger issue here is that the president has not publicly said that he concurs with the assessment that we know the CIA has made, which is that Mohammed bin Salman ordered the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. So if the president is at odds with that assessment, which he's been at odds with intelligence assessments before, the fact that he's also not listening to the tape, I think kind of underscores this sort of attitude of resistance that he has to what the CIA is telling him.
Now, I think you would have to be quite naive to believe that through American history, all of our allies have acted the way we would hope. That said, though, Shane, we've played a soundbite from Lindsey Graham, hardly the president's biggest critic on the Hill. How many more speak with Lindsey Graham here, even within the president's own party, that you can't have basically a blind eye turned to someone who not only assassinated someone, decapitated and spread the body, and only are coming forward after an audio tape was produced? We can't just pretend this thing away, can we?
Well, no, we can't. And the facts have always been building now since Jamal Khashoggi went missing on October 2nd, pointing towards Mohammed bin Salman as being responsible for this. Everybody seems to agree on that except for the president. That tape from Lindsey Graham from his interview on Sunday was so compelling because here is a very senior Republican senator, an ally of the president, saying, I'm not going to do business anymore with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, essentially saying to the kingdom, it's your business who's in charge, but don't expect us to deal with him. The Saudis have lost tremendous political capital and credibility in Washington right now, and about the only person that they have of any prominence coming out and defending them is the president. And now that we know that the president's taking a different side from his own CIA, he's becoming sort of a singular voice here defending Saudi Arabia.
So, Shane, we have exhibit, I don't know, Z or X or something of another breakdown between the president and his intelligence department. We also saw what the president said over the weekend about Admiral McRaven. How much of a disconnect is there at DOD and within military ranks and the intelligence ranks and the administration? They're not supposed to see eye to eye on everything, but the personal attacks and the distancing from our own intelligence, it's been a pattern for 2 years, but when you take a step back and you just look at it, it is pretty stunning just how much it's them if he doesn't like it, and it's us if it, supports, I guess, his argument.
Yeah, I'm not aware in the history of, the modern intelligence community, which, I suppose we could say is about 70 years of history, of a relationship like this one that the president has with his intelligence agencies, where he, as you put it, he accepts the findings that he does like and he rejects the ones that he doesn't. Traditionally, presidents not always defer to their intelligence community, but they don't go out of their way to cherry pick like this. And importantly, they don't politicize the figures who have served there. So to be attacking Admiral McRaven and saying, essentially he's a partisan hack, to attack the CIA as President Trump did during his campaign, saying, you can't believe them on their findings that Russia interfered in the election because these are the people who screwed up the call about WMD in Iraq. He's just gone into whole new territory where traditionally this kind of partisan politics does not extend into national security as just sort of a core principle. We separate those things. But this president has politicized the conduct of intelligence and national security, and it's a core function of how he operates now.
Finally, Shane, what does your gut say? At the end of the day, can MBS really stay in power and have the U.S. blessing, or is it just politically untenable on the Hill?
I think he can stay in power. I don't know how effective he is going to be in power. He has been faced a lot harsher condemnation probably from European governments than from the Trump administration. But he runs the real risk of, if he stays in power, of being more than a figurehead, but being someone who is essentially going to have no audience and no quarter in Washington, D.C. When you hear Lindsey Graham saying what he said, maybe in a year or two things start to cool off, but that is a fairly decisive statement coming from a senior member of the Republican Party in the Senate. I don't know that there is an ability to remove him in Saudi Arabia. He is sort of an absolute ruler in that sense, and has very effectively neutralized his opposition. But the Saudis have a real problem on their hands, a real crisis of credibility for sure.
Shane Harris, great job. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
You bet. Thank you.
And coming up next, why the White House battle against Jim Acosta in CNN could be, I stress could, be a turning point in the way that the media covers this president. I'll bring our panel in for that conversation.